The story begins with a young girl named Sarah, who lived in a small town with her parents. She was a happy and curious girl who loved to explore and play outside with her friends. One day, Sarah received a package in the mail from her grandmother who lived far away. Sarah was so excited to see what was inside, and she tore open the package eagerly. Inside, she found an antique doll that was unlike any she had ever seen. The doll was made of porcelain, with glassy eyes and a haunting smile. Despite its creepy appearance, Sarah was enamored with the doll and decided to keep it in her room. Sarah showed the doll to her parents, but they were not as thrilled as she was. They warned her that the doll was not just any ordinary toy, but Sarah paid no attention to their warnings. She placed the doll on her shelf and went about her day. That night, Sarah went to bed feeling happy and content. But as she drifted off to sleep, she began to feel a strange presence in her room. She opened her eyes to see the doll staring back at her, its glassy eyes glowing in the dark. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine and quickly jumped out of bed. She tried to touch the doll, but as she reached for it, the doll suddenly came to life and attacked her. Sarah screamed and ran out of her room, but the doll seemed to follow her every move. The next morning, Sarah told her parents what had happened, but they didn't believe her. They thought she was just having a bad dream. But Sarah knew what she had seen, and she was sure that the doll was not just a simple toy. From that day on, Sarah's life would never be the same. The doll had arrived, and the chaos was about to begin. Sarah was haunted by the events of the previous night and could not shake the feeling that the doll was watching her. She tried to ignore it, but the doll seemed to be getting closer every day. One night, Sarah was awakened by strange noises coming from her room. She sat up in bed, her heart pounding in her chest. She was afraid to move, but the noises continued. Finally, she summoned up the courage to get out of bed and investigate. As she entered her room, Sarah was shocked to see that the doll had moved from its place on the shelf. It was now lying on her bed, its glassy eyes staring up at her. Sarah tried to touch it, but the doll suddenly came to life and attacked her. Sarah screamed and ran from the room, but the doll seemed to follow her every move. It was as if the doll was alive and was determined to cause harm. Sarah was terrified and did not know what to do. The next morning, Sarah told her parents what had happened, but they still didn't believe her. They thought she was just having nightmares. But Sarah knew the truth, and she was sure that the doll was not just a simple toy. From that moment on, Sarah was haunted by the doll. It seemed to be getting stronger every day, and Sarah was afraid for her life. She was determined to find a way to get rid of the doll and put an end to its reign of terror. Sarah confided in her best friend about the doll, and her friend suggested that they seek help from a local spiritualist. The spiritualist listened to Sarah's story and confirmed her suspicions that the doll was possessed by a malevolent spirit. The spiritualist advised Sarah that in order to get rid of the doll, she had to perform a ritual to purify it and release the trapped spirit. Sarah was hesitant, but she knew she had to do something to stop the doll from causing any more harm. With the help of her friend and the guidance of the spiritualist, Sarah performed the ritual. At first, nothing seemed to happen, but then, suddenly, the doll began to shake and convulse. The room was filled with a strange energy, and the doll exploded, releasing the trapped spirit. Sarah and her friend were stunned, but relieved that the ritual had worked. They thought the danger was over, but they soon realized that the spirit was not gone and was now free to haunt them. The next few days were filled with strange occurrences and eerie noises, and Sarah and her friend knew they had to find a way to stop the spirit once and for all. Sarah and her friend soon realized that the spirit was not content to simply haunt them. It was determined to take control and possess their bodies. Sarah's friend was the first to fall victim to the spirit, becoming violent and erratic. Sarah tried to help her friend, but she was powerless against the spirit's influence. She was left to watch as her friend became a vessel for the malevolent entity, causing chaos and destruction wherever she went. As the spirit continued to grow in strength, Sarah knew she had to find a way to stop it. She remembered the words of the spiritualist and realized that the spirit could only be defeated if she faced it head-on. Sarah summoned up all her courage and confronted the possessed friend, determined to banish the spirit and save her friend. The confrontation was intense and terrifying, but Sarah was able to overcome the spirit and banish it back to the afterlife. Her friend was freed from the possession, but Sarah was left shaken by the experience. She knew that the battle was far from over, and that the spirit would not rest until it had claimed its next victim. Despite the danger, Sarah was determined to find a way to stop the spirit for good. She continued her research, studying ancient texts and seeking out experts in the supernatural. One day, Sarah came across a mysterious book that seemed to hold the key to defeating the spirit. The book was written in an ancient language, but Sarah was able to decipher it with the help of a local scholar. The book described a powerful ritual that would banish the spirit back to the afterlife, but the ritual was incredibly dangerous and required the use of rare ingredients and powerful magic. Sarah knew she had to find a way to perform the ritual, no matter the cost. She spent the next few weeks gathering the ingredients and preparing for the ritual. Finally, the night arrived, and Sarah set out to perform the ritual. The sky was dark and stormy, adding to the ominous atmosphere. The ritual was a success, and the spirit was banished back to the afterlife. Sarah was exhausted, but relieved that the danger was finally over. She burned the mysterious book, not wanting its dangerous knowledge to fall into the wrong hands. Sarah returned home, determined to put the traumatic events behind her. But she knew that she would never forget the lessons she had learned and the battles she had fought. Sarah thought she had put the spirit to rest and that her troubles were over, but she was wrong. The spirit had not been completely banished and was now seeking revenge. It began to spread its influence, possessing more and more people and causing chaos and destruction wherever it went. People began to take notice of the strange events, and soon the spirit had gained a following. Sarah was horrified as she watched the spirit gain power, and she knew she had to stop it before it was too late. She tried to warn people about the danger, but no one would listen. They saw the spirit as a source of power and excitement, not realizing the true danger it posed. Sarah realized she had to act alone. She traveled to the source of the spirit's power, determined to stop it once and for all. The journey was treacherous, and Sarah was met with many obstacles along the way, but she refused to give up. Finally, she reached her destination, a dark and ancient temple deep in the heart of the forest. The temple was guarded by powerful spirits, but Sarah was determined to face them and destroy the source of the spirit's power. Sarah entered the temple, her heart pounding with fear and determination. The temple was dark and foreboding, but she pressed on, knowing that the fate of the world was in her hands. As she approached the heart of the temple, she was confronted by the most powerful spirit she had ever encountered. It was the source of the chaos, and it was determined to stop her at any cost. The battle was intense, with both sides using their full strength and power. Sarah was pushed to her limits, but she refused to give up. She summoned all her courage and summoned the spirit back to the afterlife, destroying it once and for all. With the source of the chaos destroyed, Sarah returned to the outside world, exhausted but triumphant. The spirit's influence began to wane, and people slowly returned to their normal lives. Sarah was hailed as a hero, but she knew that the true victory was not in the glory or recognition. It was in the knowledge that she had saved the world from a terrible evil and that she had proven to herself that she was capable of great things. With a sense of peace and contentment, Sarah returned home, ready to start a new chapter in her life. As the world settled back into a state of relative peace and calm, a new problem arose. The authorities became aware of the strange events that had taken place and began an investigation. Sarah was called in for questioning, and she was forced to recount the events that had led up to the banishment of the spirit. The authorities were skeptical at first, but as they delved deeper into the investigation, they began to believe Sarah's story. They discovered evidence of the spirit's presence and the chaos it had caused, and they were forced to admit that something supernatural had indeed taken place. The investigation expanded, and soon the authorities were exploring other strange and unexplained events that had occurred around the world. Sarah became a key player in the investigation, using her knowledge of the supernatural to help solve the mysteries. She worked closely with the authorities, and they became her allies in the fight against the supernatural. The investigation was long and exhausting, but Sarah never gave up. She was determined to get to the bottom of the strange events and to find out what was really behind them. As Sarah and the authorities continued their investigation, they discovered that the spirit that had possessed the doll was not the only one of its kind. There were other spirits out there, waiting to be awakened and unleashed on the world. Sarah knew that she couldn't wait for the authorities to take action. She had to stop the spirits before they could do any more damage. She set out on a journey to find and destroy the other spirits, determined to put an end to their evil once and for all. The journey was long and dangerous, but Sarah was up to the task. She battled the spirits in dark and eerie locations, facing powerful and frightening creatures along the way. But no matter how hard it was, Sarah refused to give up. As she got closer to her goal, Sarah encountered the most powerful spirit of all, the spirit that had first possessed the doll. The battle was fierce and intense, with both sides using all their strength and power. In the end, Sarah emerged victorious. She destroyed the spirit and banished it back to the afterlife, finally putting an end to its reign of terror. With the spirits defeated, the world was safe once again. With the spirits defeated and the world safe, Sarah returned to her normal life. But she was different now. She was stronger, wiser, and more confident. She was hailed as a hero, and she was celebrated for her bravery and determination. People came from all over the world to hear her story, and she was a source of inspiration to many. She used her newfound strength and confidence to help others, using her knowledge of the supernatural to assist those in need. She became a mentor and guide to those who were struggling, helping them to overcome their fears and to reach their full potential. As the years passed, Sarah continued to be celebrated as a hero and a champion of the people. But there was one mystery that remained unsolved. The authorities were never able to determine the true origins of the spirits or where they had come from. Some whispered that they were ancient entities that had been unleashed from another world, while others believed they were the result of a dark and sinister magic. Sarah never spoke of the spirits or the battle she had fought against them. She always remained enigmatic, guarding the secret of their existence and the true nature of the supernatural world. Years after her death, rumors began to circulate that Sarah had discovered something about the spirits that she had never revealed to anyone. Some believed that she had uncovered a powerful and dangerous knowledge that she had taken to her grave. To this day, Sarah's legacy remains shrouded in mystery, and the truth about the spirits and their ultimate fate remains unknown. But her story continues to inspire and to be told, a testament to the power of the human spirit and the triumph of good over evil.